unlike any other species in the planet, human beings are special. You see, we have a unique relationship with technology. We build, we innovate, we dream. And over the course of the last 10,000 years, which led to the writing of this book and a study of the relationship, that very intimate relationship that we have with technology. Digital Singularity, A Case for Humanity, is about two worlds in conflict. You see, we live with it, we don't even realize it. Yesterday, I was, in fact, talking with Shobha about this very point. She brought it up to me. What's going to happen? Is technology, the technological dragon, going to slay us? Are we going to experience some artificial intelligence that will be so insidious, much like the Terminator movie, result in a horrible, unthinkable future? Many theorists today, academics and leaders, believe so. Even Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and the late Stephen Hawking fear that artificial intelligence could end it all. But there's another view, a view that's persevered over the last 10,000 years, despite our many negative perspectives on the subject, that we will take this technology and overall do something better with it, and that we will free humankind, solve the grand challenges, the sustainable development goals we will reach by 2035 as prescribed by the United Nations across all major areas, right? Poverty reduction, solving the world's energy problems. Today, we only have to open up and ourselves to the information that's around us. We are already solving those problems. So how do these two worlds in conflict survive and live together? It begins with perspective and how we look at our business problems and how we intend to solve them. I heard a number of people talk about digital and saying, digital is not technology, it's business. Then we have to learn business. Stop talking like technologists. Start talking like business people. And that's where it begins. So what is digital singularity? It's the point where technological omnipresence and the human experience converge. It's very simple, okay? We've gone all these years, generations with technology as artifacts, things. But what is, we saw a demonstration of Alexa last night, right, with our comedians. What is Alexa? It is the omnipresence of technology. She is always listening, and don't think she's not. And I caught yesterday, they were talking to Alexa and they didn't call her name. You know, you guys use Alexa. You have to activate her. Alexa. And then she knows to listen. Well, I don't know, their version of Alexa, she was listening without the activation. So the point is technology omnipresence, much like that Star Trek computer was always listening in the background, if you remember those old 1960 shows, and she was available to solve problems. And because of that convergence, we are free of the physical devices that are around us. And that is where digital singularity begins. I was talking today a few minutes ago about the internet and .com and how the digital singularity revolution is so much bigger where we are today than where we were in the 2000 period. And it's really simple, right? Y2K turned on the lights. Now we can see. So there's so much work to be done. Human relationship with technology through the ages has been interesting, focused, and at the same time, we couldn't survive without it. It falls into three major time periods. The master-slave period, we call it, symbiosis, and singularity. We are now entering into singularity. Master-slave is the basics, right? And it's important to understand this. These are tools. We created, you know, arrows, conveyor belts, stuff. that works, does things, typewriters, right? We owned it. It was a physical thing. We could sell it. It existed as a slave to us. It was an extension only insofar as it was a device. But it couldn't communicate. It could do with our assistance. Symbiosis is different. This is the information age. And in symbiosis, we actually have something else happening, right? The technology is able to extend us thousands of miles away, right? Either through a phone or through email or through some type of communication. But we have a symbiotic relationship with it now. We cannot live without it. It's always with us. We leave our homes. We forget the phone. We go back. We pick it up. We can't work without it, right? That's the symbiotic relationship. But in singularity, that reliance is no longer required. You see, we're always connected in singularity. And so we're free of the physical devices. Imagine a time not too long ago, growing up without any technological devices. I remember my mother on a summer night yelling out the door, "Kevin, it's time to come home, 10 o'clock. And I might be playing football or whatever I was doing, screwing around outside. And if I didn't come home, she'd call the next door neighbor's mom, and the next door neighbor's mom, this is their form of cell phone coverage, call the next door neighbor's mom, and they'd yell. And if nobody could find us by then, because by then we'd all be back in our houses, they'd send out the Oldsmobiles to go start looking for the kids and rounding them up. But that was a different time. We survived, right? So the journey to digital singularity is all about technology, but it's also all about how we use it. So you think about early technologies like the conveyor belt to PCs and tablets, and ultimately now to what are the prerequisites for the digital age? Blockchain, robotic process automation, sensors, artificial intelligence, cloud, IoT. These are not technology towers, so stop thinking about them that way. These are integrated technologies that require to work together to create a business solution. How many of you have said, "Oh, well, I am the cloud guy"? I mean, you think about it like data center or something, or I'm a service desk. These are not towers. You cannot have cloud without cybersecurity. You cannot have cloud without IoT. You cannot have cloud without et cetera, et cetera. So they're all integrated. And if the technologies are integrated, once they are, you can dream about what solutions you want to build, what problems you want to solve. We are leaving the information age, thank God, because the information age is not good. We fear digital singularity because we don't know what it means. I'm about to tell you. I'm going to give you a peek into that digital future. We fear it, but we already live in hell. I call it information hell. Instant access to everything, to people. Today, before I got to the emails that I needed, I cleared 24 junk emails. Device addiction, fake news, social everything. Too much. We are not designed for that much information at one time. We need analytics, by the way, coming in the digital age, to a Walmart near you, to help us consolidate all of this data and information and take ourselves out of this hellscape. So the digital age is born, and there are 4 pillars of digital singularity. And what this is a prescription to dream. That's what I'm giving you. This is a prescription to innovate. So all the speakers that you've heard from up until now have all said, you got to do something. You got to solve the business problem. But how? These 4 pillars, hyperconvergence, digital moments, digital twins, augmented reality, when combined together, support the creation. And this is the model. In the outer ring, what you see here is the technology prerequisites that you must have in order to move your business, your solution, to a digital focus, okay? And I mentioned a few of them already. IoT, AI analytics, 3D printing. There's a reason that 3D printing is part of that, because there's a supply chain aspect to all of this. Robotic process automation, cybersecurity, sensors. Sensors, right? Amazon and their Amazon store, Go store, doesn't work without sensors. You walk in, you pick up something. How do you think Kroger feels about that? And you walk out the door. You've been charged. So in that solution, right, what happens? Everything is happening. You've got a cloud solution, IoT is working, there's sensor technology, you walk into the store, you pick up what you want, and you walk out, and somehow biometrics reads that you're the right person, and you get charged. Isn't that beautiful? That's the beauty of this integrated technology. And as we bring these different solutions together around the 4 pillars, we move into a new world. And we're going to talk about that too. First, hyperconvergence. How many of you have heard of the Toyota e-pallet? Okay, you think that this is new technology or a dream. It is not. The e-pallet was launched in CES as an experimental solution by Toyota. And what it is this little van. And what it does is it drives around the city. And one minute it is an Amazon truck, and the sign changes to Amazon. The next minute it says Walmart. The next minute it says Target. You see, it changes. It goes to the train tracks, picks up some load, he goes to the warehouse, picks up something, and delivers it to your house, and it is whatever it needs to be. Multi-purpose vehicle, not driven by anyone. And then it can be ride-sharing too. I got a few minutes there in between deliveries. Let's deliver some pizza. You see, the e-pallet is a concept by Toyota today, not tomorrow. They figured it out. This one is interesting. You look at this guy, he's trying on shoes. Why does it work? You'd say, this is very expensive. How much do you think it costs to return packages today? You send out a vehicle like this. This fella, you can see he walks in, he tries on his shoes in what looks like some kind of store. If he likes it, he walks out with it, and he's charged. If he doesn't like it, he leaves it. And by the way, there's a disposal right there for his old shoes. They just throw those away. They get recycled. You see, that's where the innovation is happening, and that's where the excitement is. Why is it called hyperconvergence? Hyperconvergence means the convergence of 2 disparate technologies to create something completely different. What happens when I put sensors in my shoes? It can tell me how many steps I'm walking. It can also tell me if I'm walking incorrectly. And you know what analytics is going to tell me? That if I keep walking incorrectly, it is going to project by the time I'm 65 years old, I'm going to have a bunion. Just like my mother-in-law. I love my mother-in-law. But the bottom line is that hyperconvergence is the taking of 2 technologies to create something bigger and better than was there before. We all have a Nest. How many of you have a Nest in your house? Okay? That's hyperconvergence. IoT, cybersecurity, sensors, together, in a thermostat, no new technology, and suddenly we have an energy-saving device. A device that's connected to the grid that Edison controls. Your electric company, PG&E, whatever it is. And when I bought my Nest, I got a $50 rebate from Edison. How many of you got a rebate? You guys are too rich. When you get that rebate on that Nest, it allows them, you don't know this when you say accept, to take over control of the heating and cooling in your house during surge times. That's now a global energy management device. Think about it, okay? Much bigger than it was before. Same with the watch, same with everything, right? It's got a bigger purpose. Is this a health monitor or is this a timepiece? It's got a bigger purpose, hyperconvergence. So that's how we start dreaming. Digital moments. Great story about Kroger Edge. I'm giving you some real life stories, okay? Kroger came up with the Kroger Edge band, okay? It was thought of initially as, wouldn't it be great if from our home office, we could control every grocery store, and instead of having that person, that human being, walk around and stick, have you guys seen those guns? Stick prices and try to insert them in the slide thing and all the thing that they do. All right, very laborious thing. To put the right prices and stock the right things. What if we could just do that centrally, like out of Kroger's HQ? We have a command center there for all of our stores and say, we want to introduce a new product here. And boom, it lights up. And then they have to stock it, right? Well, they didn't really realize what they were doing when they introduced this new idea, because it, in fact, had very little to do with that. What they installed in all their stores, and what they're planning to install in all their stores, I should say instead, is really an IoT device. Now, in the future, not so distant, when I walk into a Kroger, that device is going to be communicating with my phone. It'll tell me it'll know what aisle I'm in. It'll remember what I purchased last time I was there. It'll build a grocery list for me automatically. It'll communicate with my refrigerator. It'll tell my refrigerator, it'll tell me that my refrigerator says there's no eggs. My wife and I are busy people. We're raising 2 kids. We're super, super busy. We'd love something like that, right? Freeing us of the labor of technology and the burden of making those kinds of decisions, right? So now we talk about Amazon and all the analytics and all the smart stuff happening. Well, we still go to the grocery store because we forget, right? It's 10 o'clock at night. We didn't get bread. We got to make sandwiches for those kids. Forget. So we got to go out at night. So this is all part of the strategy, right? That is a real-life strategy and a solution that is now that it's implemented, it has become a platform to dream. What else can we do with this platform? How can we engage our customers differently? Augmented reality. Sony Corporation. I know we have at least one representative from Sony Corporation here today. I won't embarrass him. They've come out with a wondrous patent, okay? And what it is augmented reality in a contact lens. It's sort of like a Google Glass. But the interesting thing about it is, again, what did I say about technology? It is the physicalness of it is disappearing. So what this technology is supposed to do is essentially connect you and augment your reality. Augmented reality is not virtual reality, right? Virtual reality, it means living in a video game. Augmented reality means I live in the real world, and this information is helping me as I walk down the street. It's time for your coffee. There's a Starbucks right on the right. Why don't you just go get it? Let me scan. Okay, coffee. Okay, I'm going to go there. 24 meters away is the bathroom. That's augmented reality. And you don't look like a nerd like the Silicon Valley guys wearing those Google glasses. I think they're really cool. I mean, you know, that doesn't work. Why does the Google Glass not work? Because the idea was we'll use it in a warehouse, we'll be able to see what's going on, but how the hell do you drive and do the things that you're doing with that stuff on your face, right? So there's a safety consideration too. So this is an interesting patent. This is real. So now we're starting to bring together all of these bits. Augmented reality at the airports too, right? We're seeing it. It's starting to come. We're giving information to people so that they get a better view of where they're going, how to get there, how to manage traffic. Who's secure, who's an insecure passenger or a high risk. Digital twins. This is the 4th pillar of digital singularity, and probably, for some, the most scary. Because you see, the digital twin is you in the cyber world. It's doing stuff for you. It's managing your house. It's buying your groceries. It knows that the sole on your shoe is wearing down. Time to buy one. You see, the digital twin is also managing your estate. It is you that lives on. How many of you have passwords to different accounts? All of you, raise your hands, come on. How many of you have more than one? How many of you have more than 10? How many have more than 40? Okay, now, you talk about cybersecurity. Are you changing those passwords regularly as you're supposed to? Are you recycling those passwords? You think that a digital twin is going to take over your life. Well, now, what if you go to a setting on your digital twin dashboard and you say, change passwords across all my accounts now. Do it every 5 seconds. Do it every 30 seconds. Do it every 10 minutes. You see, the digital twin is you operating in a virtual world, and you have control over it. And if you think that this technology doesn't exist, it is becoming into itself. Google Home, Amazon Alexa. These devices are effectively becoming our digital presence. They will manage our relationships, our financials, security, our social communities, work and school life, our data, purchasing transactions, all that we are in the non-physical world. And it will go away in terms of being a challenge for us because we're not going to have to manage it in a physical way. And so this is how we dream. We bring these technologies together and we think about what's the art of the possible. And then we do the impossible. We solve the problems that we've been unable to solve for centuries. And this is what's so interesting about digital twins. Because if you really think about what it means is, if I were to die today on stage and I have a digital twin, my children would be able to reach me. They would know how to access my accounts because the person managing my estate would immediately take over. They would know everything about where everything is, right? It would automatically update all the information. So I would have that for my children. Transboundary communities. One of the key aspects of the new digital world is how we will communicate together across these 4 pillars. This is a woman who's got a VR set, okay? So she's looking kind of like in sort of virtual way. That's not what we're talking about here. In a transboundary community, you get transposed into the life and surroundings of those around you. How many of you have seen those new experimental white rooms where you can project, Cisco, of course, has their telepresence and whatnot, other technologies for a long time. But now that it's becoming more advanced. One of my old friends over at JPL was Jim Rinaldi, was showing me what they're really planning to do. They want to create these future co-working spaces where someone like, in Bangalore can work together with someone in the United States, but not just in, like over same time or FaceTime or any of these other technologies, but in this sort of virtual way where more than one senses are being used, at least 3. So in this transboundary community where we're communicating with people, we have at least 3 senses. So that means we have a sight, we have hearing, could be taste, could be smell, okay? Feel, controlling climate, temperature, etc. So when you're able to have at least more than 3, we call it a transboundary communication and ultimately a community that can be built. The digital enterprise. So how does the digital enterprise change in this new world? Well, first of all, traditional value chains. What are they? We've been talking about them. Supply chain, we have a supplier, we have a manufacturer, there's a warehouse, distribution, retail, customer, right? Customer gets delivery. Model T was like that, and that's the origins of it, right? You get one kind. I'm a manufacturer, I have no idea what people want, so I'm going to go and throw something out on the marketplace and figure out how do I know if they like it or not? Well, I could do some study, I could do some tests of small focus groups, but I'm really, at some level, also taking a chance. Is that going to take off or not? You see, now under the digital enterprise value chain, it's completely different. Why did Elon Musk ultimately have a problem? Because he didn't really build a car until somebody told him what they wanted. And then he designed the vehicle to it. He finally figured out, okay, hey, I better have some on stock because there's a high demand for my vehicle. Because in the digital value chain, you just go online and you say what you want and it arrives exactly the way you want it. I belong to this clothing club online. Many of you have seen them, there's Trunk Club and Trendy Butler and others. My wife made me cancel it last week. She says, these clothes are too tight, you're not 16 years old, what are you wearing? But look, I can choose what I want and what I don't want, right? That's the digital value chain. So now this comes together once we bring the transboundary communities with barrier-free access and the sharing economy, and we have one more bit, okay? It's called democratized egalitarianism, okay? And we're going to talk about that too, because we have a lot of examples of democratized egalitarianism. So, how will life change in 2030? Well, we know about barrier-free access. Everybody can access everything. I don't need to belabor that point. But the interesting thing about it is that every person, regardless of economic status now, can access everything, and that's what was so great about Y2K. But the democratized egalitarian part about it, right? Arab Spring, Twitter. Today, you all know the story of that woman in Louisiana, and she tweeted Donald Trump, and she said, you know, my son died, and whatever, and he like wrote right back to her, and she got insulted. And look, today, we can have relationships directly with our leaders, with the CEO of American Airlines, or United, or whatever. I land from New York to LAX, hard landing. Go on to Twitter and I say, 5th hard landing, CEO. 5th, do something about this pilot, needs more training. Next thing you know, I get a call from the CEO, oh, sir, you're a Platinum Premier, super member. I'm so sorry, you know. Yes, we're going to discipline that pilot. Yes, these are the things we're going to do. And here's 20,000 miles for your trouble. I didn't grow up in a world where I could directly communicate with whoever I wanted to, but that's democratized egalitarianism. What do our leaders do? Donald Trump communicates directly with the people. You may like him or not like him. If he wants to insult you, he's going to insult you. If he's going to parade and herald you, he's going to herald you. You can have a direct relationship. The sharing economy. I was at an Oracle conference a few months ago, and I got a great example of this. You see, there was a man there, many of you who have been there may have seen it, and he decided that he was going to do a commercial. And he was going to compete in an RFP process for winning that commercial. It was a 2-minute competition. He's going to kind of spec out the commercial, and he was going to send it. But he didn't have a staff. I mean, he did, but I think he was laid off. He didn't say that, but it sounded like he was with a larger firm, you know, maybe one of the movie houses or whatever. So he goes to all of his friends, probably also working for other people, and says, I want to compete for this, and if we win, I'll share the revenue with you. But he went to an actor, went to a producer, went to a film crew, all of his buddies, and they never met because they're all virtual, and they filmed, and they did all this great stuff, and then they come together based on his script, and he edits it, and he submits it, and he wins. Okay? They never meet. Now, what's so interesting about that? What's so interesting about it is those people that competed could very well be your employees. Frankly, it could be your company that's competing against them and you don't know it. Because they're doing it anonymously, right? The only person that's known is the one guy. Everyone else is an anonymous contributor. How many of you are familiar with Hyperloop Transport? There's actually several Hyperloop companies. Hyperloop Transport is the one that is built on crowdsourcing, and the Hyperloop Technologies is built on private equity investment. So I'm talking about the transport one, just so we don't offend anybody. In fact, I know their CEO very well. He spoke recently at one of my events. And great guy, Dirk Airborne. Now, he's showing me all these great, cylinders they're building and, vacuum technologies. And he says, 300 of my engineers don't even work for me. They're crowdsourced. So I'm thinking, are these guys like all unemployed Boeing people? How do they afford to work for free? They're all working on the hope. Well, you know where they're working from. Northrop Grumman, from who knows where, right? So that's the problem with the sharing economy. And the regulations have not caught up, but they will. And that will get shut down. So don't fear the sharing economy. Embrace it. Appreciate that it is competing against you today. And understand that there will be regulation to come, because the lawyers and tort law always catches up. How will life change? Individualized demand is a requirement. If you're a business and you don't understand that everything is B2C today and it's not B2B, then you don't get it. You don't get it. I can design my clothes, I can design what I want to watch, I can do everything that I want on my own. Individualized demand. Digital currencies. Digital currencies are where we are moving. But is that cryptocurrency? Is that Bitcoin? No. No. You see, no government in the world is going to allow for very long an untaxable currency to operate within its borders. No government is going to allow for very long essentially a foreign virus currency in their borders. Does that mean there won't be digital currency? No, the US dollar is a digital currency today. If you look at technologies like Zelle and others, of course, it's a digital currency. So is the UK pound, so is the euro. And so if you do have a Bitcoin or whatever else some crazy cryptocurrency account, I'd be careful. Because not only is it highly volatile, but it is mostly backed on illegal transactions. That's my perspective, but that's what I'm seeing, okay? And as a lawyer, I've been a lawyer for many years, and these kind of things just don't last that long. We need a new digital infrastructure to be able to run these 4 pillars and to be able to dream. Why do you think we're all so busy right now? We got to upgrade networks. We got to upgrade technology. We got to build 5G, right? We heard from T-Mobile yesterday. We're going to build 5G, but what are we going to do with it? I don't know, but we're going to do great stuff. That's the problem. We need a prescription to dream. And of course, government regulations will come. But until then, let's keep marching forward. We're going to make some mistakes. We're going to learn. Enlightened regulatory frameworks are a necessity for managed innovation. They also ensure that insidious AI does not take over the world. So don't fear them. We don't want to overregulate. We want to overregulate at the right level. That gives security in markets, that gives confidence in IP protection. So you can innovate. The self-driving car has been given a lot of opportunity. But when people start dying, then they're going to start regulating that. And that's just the way the world works. We're going to have to figure out new ways to regulate our privacy. Someone yesterday showed me that little thing on the camera. I think, Shobha, you showed me that kind of covers. It's kind of a very manual way to cover your camera lens. You just slide it over. Very analog. We're going to have to find more sophisticated ways to manage our privacy than that, right? So what does all this mean for the future? I'm speaking at the United Nations Sustainable Development on Sustainable Development Goals on the 25th in September in New York at the UN Global Compact, and what the focus of that conversation is what? How will we use technology to eliminate poverty? How will we use technology to eliminate hunger, ensure well-being? You see, at the core of every sustainable development goal is technology. And that's business opportunity too. So we're going to get there. I also want you to know, I know many of you have this book in front of you. So thank you for that. I've been on this speaking tour for some time, and all proceeds of that are going to our nonprofit foundation on youth education. We want to help people migrate into this new digital economy. But the digital age promises a future where humanity has the opportunity to reach its greatest potential. And many times in the past, there have been those that have said, it will destroy us. But I challenge all of you to dream big. And remember, there is a case for humanity. Thank you.